definitely not. I've had loads of trouble with them. I dropped them in a race, clip here, and I think it was pretty lucky that I didn't cause a crash by doing that. Obviously my fault, but I just find them really difficult to hold, and they just slip out of your hand. They're really heavy compared to a normal bottle. I don't like it. I've not got on with it. The setup I had before, I had 2 empty Zoom carbon cages which weigh 14 grams each. I really like those. They work really well, and I use the Elite flyweight bottles for races, and I've not had one of those come out. They're really good, and they just like stick in the cages really nicely. Compared to them, these are so much heavier, I think, together, because you have to have a little bracket. I've got a 2019 Canyon Ultimate, probably not the exact bike that these bottles were intended for, but I feel like they should work all right. But you have to have a little fidlock bracket to lift it up, lift the bottle and cage up, so that you can get both of them in. Because I was really struggling with the back bottle touching the chain rings, so I couldn't get it out, in and out properly, and that's why I ended up dropping it. Because halfway through the race, I finished one of the bottles and I went to swap them over, put one of them in my mouth, and I just had the other one in my hand. I went over a bump as I'm swapping them over, and it just pinged out my hand, and my legs cramped up on the last lap. And it was just like a silly mistake that you just go, oh, I've been trying to optimize my bike to make it as fast as possible, and I just ruined that race through it. So then I took them off. They're just in a box now with all this other stuff, but I paid 140 quid for them, and that just seems ridiculous, really. They're really hard, so I find them tricky to squeeze the water out. You hardly get any water out of them when you squeeze it, so I find that it doesn't really quench my thirst. Compared to the Elite flyweight bottles, you get so much when you squeeze them, and you just feel like you don't want to be drinking and taking it in and out of the cage constantly. So yeah, don't like them. Had them a while now, wish I hadn't bought them. Definitely won't buy them again. So I'll be sticking with the Elite bottles with the MT Zoom cages, so I think they're far better. I'm quite heavy, so whenever I've been dropped in races, it's always up the hills. So I think maybe Aero is less important to me than weight, and using these bottles adds, let's have a look, I'll write it all down. It adds 276 grams. That's quite a lot, isn't it? You know, when you think of how much you spend on other components to get the weight down. You know, for a bit of Aero, in my case, cost me, I'd like to think, a good place in the race. It just really doesn't seem worth it. So I won't be bothering again. I think I went a little bit too far with trying to optimize, and now it's maybe time to simplify. Don't recommend. Another thing, like the hole in the top is really small, and obviously, like, it's Aero, so I get that, but it's really hard to get stuff in and out, and then how do you clean them properly? Whereas the Elite ones got such a big hole. I need some like witty thing to say when I sign off, don't I? Enjoy yourself.